Hey, Ryan Hardesty here, and I wanted to kind of build on my last video that talked a lot about how professional athletes approach their sports in contrast to how a lot of us approach our professions. And to do that, I want to talk about coaches and how they approach their teams and their players and the things that they do to ensure their success. So I want to talk about three principles that I've seen in coaching that I think really apply to just leadership in general and can make our teams and our projects more successful. One of the things that coaches do that's great is focus on the small details. They build up their players with proper mechanics and principles down to the smallest detail. One of the best examples I've seen of this is John Wooden teaching his players how to put on their socks and shoes in their first practice. This seems like something so small and trivial, but he felt that it was important to have a focus of excellence in everything that you do, down to the smallest detail. This is the first principle of great coaching. It's the principle of how you do anything is how you do everything. That focusing on the small details and finding excellence in them will produce the biggest wins and the best results. The next thing that comes to my mind is position. A great coach is able to look at their team and identify the players with the capacity to be able to be successful in each of the positions that are required on the team. They identify these individuals and then they begin to cultivate and develop them. This concept of position is so critical. It's so important that a coach is able to identify the right player for the right position. Imagine if a coach took a 300-pound, super powerful person on a football team and put them in the position of wide receiver. This position requires speed, being able to run quick, jump high. That is not the skill set that this large person has. That person is way more well suited to be a linebacker. But if the coach puts them in the wrong role, no matter how much practice they put in, no matter how hard the individual works, they'll never be able to be as successful as they could be if they were in the proper position. On a team, everyone has a position, everyone has a role, and they all understand their roles. Looking at your team, does everyone have a clearly defined position? Is that position well suited to their skill set? Does everyone know what everyone else's position is? Position is a super important principle when it comes to having a successful team. The last principle that great coaches bring to their team is a principle of practice. Now, this may seem obvious. Yeah, every team practices. But when you think about it, they practice with purpose. They come in and they understand what their objective is. They have clearly defined goals and they drill according to those goals. They break down the components of a play into smaller pieces and then they drill those smaller individual pieces, making sure that they're able to execute each and every part of what is required to be successful in the game. And while the team practices, the coach doesn't just stand by and do nothing. The coach is analyzing and giving tips on how they can more effectively execute those plays and those movements. The coach is actively engaged in the practice. So this brings to mind how we approach our careers and our teams. How often are we practicing with our teams to perform on game day? How often are we analyzing how they do their job and providing tips and advice on how they can be more effective? So principle number 3 of a great coach is practicing with a purpose, understanding the intention of everything that you're doing to prepare for game day. To run back through these 3 principles: 1, how you do anything is how you do everything. Making sure that you focus on greatness in the small details, because those small details add up to big results. Principle number 2, proper position. Make sure that you identify the members of your team's skill sets and move them into the positions where they're able to be most successful, Remember, no matter how hard you try in the wrong position, you'll never be as successful as you could be in the proper position. Principle number 3, practicing with a purpose. Coaches know that it takes more than just showing up on game day to be successful. They spend hours of drilling and developing skills with their teams to make sure that when they step on the field, they have every opportunity to succeed. It's not what the coach does on game day that makes the biggest difference. It's what he's done leading up to game day in those practices. In that same mindset, what can you be doing with your team to help develop their skills so that when they show up on game day, they're prepared? As a leader, I have to ask myself, am I doing everything I can to help my team succeed? Are we preparing for success? Do we have everybody in the right position? And are we focusing on greatness in the smallest of details? If you're a leader, ask yourself those same questions. What are you doing to make sure that your team shows up on game day prepared to succeed? Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to like it. If you think that there's somebody that you know that can benefit from this information, make sure to share it with them. My name is Ryan Hardesty, and remember, how you do anything is how you do everything.